Imagine driving across one of Nigeria's busiest expressways at night, knowing that the street lights installed to protect motorists are slowly disappearing one after another. That is now the disturbing reality at Long Bridge on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, where 168 solar-powered streetlights have been reportedly been stolen by suspected vandals. The lights were installed in 2025 along the approximately 5-kilometer stretch on the bridge. Their purpose was straightforward: illuminate the road, improve visibility, and make the busy route safer for thousands of motorists, particularly after dark. But only months after the installation, the lights began disappearing. During an inspection on the bridge on Tuesday, several sections were found stripped of their lighting infrastructure. A count from the Opik end towards Wawa reportedly showed that about 168 solar-powered streetlights have been removed. And the method used by the suspected vandals raises even more questions. The poles did not appear to have been randomly destroyed. They were reportedly dismantled carefully, with screws and nuts loosened before the equipment was removed and taken away. In some areas, several hundred meters of the bridge had been left without lighting. Some poles showed signs of having been forcibly removed, while others appear to have been dismantled gradually. This suggests that whoever was responsible may have been taking their time. And that raises the biggest question: how were so many streetlights removed from a major expressway without being stopped? The Long Bridge is not an ordinary road. It carries heavy traffic every day, connecting Lagos with Ogun State and other parts of Nigeria. Thousands of motorists use the route, including commercial vehicles, private cars, and heavy trucks. But the bridge also has another reputation. It has reportedly become notorious for attacks on motorists whose vehicles develop faults, particularly at night. A breakdown on the bridge can leave a driver vulnerable. Without adequate lighting, identifying people approaching a stranded vehicle becomes more difficult. Criminals can potentially use the darkness to conceal their movements. That is why the disappearance of the solar lights is not simply a case of stolen public property. It could also become a serious road safety and security concern. One motorist, who identified himself as Shegun, described the situation as disturbing.
There are so many kidnappers in this area. Secondly, recently, they have murdered 2 people here, around our surrounding here. Secondly, there's some Chinese factory over here. So they have come and kidnapped one of them recently. So but all sorts of things have morally happened in this area.
His concern is particularly serious because the bridge already has a reputation for attacks on motorists whose vehicles break down. Another business owner, Dade Ayana, said a streetlight near an underpass connecting both sides of the Wawa area had also been removed earlier this year. She warned that darkness could make the area easier for criminals to operate without being detected. And there is another disturbing detail. Some of the poles reportedly had only 1 nut remaining, instead of 2 used to secure them. That could suggest the vandals were necessarily removing the poles in a single operation. They may have loosened one component, returned later, and removed the remaining fastening before taking the entire structure away. If that is what happened, then the vandalism may have been a gradual operation rather than a single overnight incident. Another business owner, Labake Aliyu, said residents suspected the thefts were mostly happening at night. According to her, business owners usually close their shops around 7 p.m., meaning they may not know what happens later on the expressway. By the following morning, they sometimes hear that another street light has disappeared. That creates a serious surveillance problem. The expressway is a public road, but it is also a vast and constantly moving environment. Without dedicated monitoring, criminals can potentially exploit the darkness and traffic to carry out their activities. Some police officers have previously been seen occupying a makeshift post along the long bridge. Yet, motorists say the disappearance of the light remains difficult to understand. One motorist questioned how such vandalism could continue despite security personnel being present in the area. He argued that the issue goes beyond darkness because the removal of the light could increase both accident risks and exposure to criminal attacks. There is also the broader problem of scavengers targeting public infrastructure. Public infrastructure has increasingly become attractive to vandals seeking materials they can sell as scrap. But what may appear profitable to a vandal can create enormous cost for society. A stolen streetlight is not simply a piece of metal or equipment. It represents public money. It represents infrastructure intended to protect lives. And when it disappears, taxpayers may eventually have to pay again for its replacement. The Federal Controller of Works in Ogun State, Richard Adeleye, has confirmed the theft. He said some suspected vandals had already been arrested and charged to court. According to him, the arrest took place before they assumed office as acting controller, while authorities are now developing strategies to prevent further thefts. The Ogun State Police Public Relations Officer, Oluseyi Babaseyi, also confirmed that suspected vandals operating along the axis have been arrested. He said the suspects were allegedly caught while vandalizing critical infrastructure and has subsequently been charged to court. The police also appealed to residents to report suspicious activity. That community involvement could prove crucial. Motorists, traders, residents and security personnel all use the same area. Someone may notice unusual activity before authorities do. But prevention cannot depend entirely on public vigilance. The authorities must determine how 168 streetlights were removed from one of the country's busiest highways and whether the people arrested are connected to the entire operation. They must also determine whether there are buyers or scrap dealers receiving stolen infrastructure, because catching the person removing public equipment may only solve one part of the problem. The bigger question is who purchases the stolen materials. If there is no market for the stolen equipment, vandalism becomes considerably harder to sustain. The situation also comes amid another worrying case in Lagos, where unidentified scavengers reportedly vandalized concrete pillars supporting the bridge linking Alakija and Festac while attempting to remove embedded iron rods. That incident shows that infrastructure vandalism is not limited to streetlights. It can threaten the structural integrity of major public facilities. For Long Bridge, the immediate concern is restoring the stolen lightning and protecting the remaining infrastructure. Motorists should not have to drive through dangerous stretches of a major expressway because public equipment have been stolen. The 168 missing solar streetlights are therefore more than an infrastructure statistics. They represent a security concern, a road safety concern, and a test of whether Nigeria can protect the public infrastructure it has already paid to build. And unless the vandalism is stopped, Long Bridge could become dark again, exactly the condition the streetlights were installed to prevent. I'm Chimezum Okoro, and do have a blessed day.